Welcome to Whispers in the Wind, Stories of True Crime. Welcome back to Whispers in the Wind, where we delve into the most perplexing and haunting criminal cases. Today, we embark on a journey into the tragic murder of Vanessa Marcotte, a young woman whose life was brutally taken away during an afternoon jog. Vanessa Marcotte, a bright and promising 27-year-old, had her whole life ahead of her. Was born in Leominster, Massachusetts, on June 17, 1989, to John and Rosanna Marcotte. An only child, she attended the Bancroft School in Worcester, Massachusetts, and graduated with honors with a bachelor's degree in communications from Boston University in 2011. She then proceeded into her professional career, where she worked at an online marketing software startup in Boston called WordStream, as well as at the American offices of Vistaprint. She eventually started working as an account manager at Google in New York City, where she worked up until her death. While Marcotte lived full-time in New York City, she often made bi-monthly visits to her mother and aunt, who lived in Princeton, Massachusetts, a small rural town of less than 4,000 residents in Worcester County. Princeton, rich in history and nestled along the south face of Wachusett Mountain, Princeton is a rural community with small yet thriving pockets of agriculture, conservation land, and open space. Its scenic beauty has been sought by travelers as a refuge from the city for hundreds of years. Princeton is known for its picturesque beauty and tight-knit community. However, it would soon become the setting for a crime that would shake the town to its core. Vanessa's disappearance and subsequent discovery would send shockwaves far beyond the peaceful streets of this New England town. On Sunday, August 7, 2016, Marcotte left her mother's house on Brooks Station Road in Princeton in the early afternoon to go for a run before heading back to New York by commuter bus later in the day. Her family notified police when several hours passed and she did not return. Police then immediately launched a missing persons search. She was found deceased off the street on a trail in a heavily wooded area around 8:20 p.m., less than a half mile from her mother's home. Officials immediately classified it as a homicide case. Her body was naked, and she had burns to her face, feet, and hands. She was also believed to have been sexually assaulted and strangled. She suffered crushing injuries to her throat and had a broken nose. Her clothes, cell phone, and earbuds were missing, and a partially burned sneaker was found near her body. None of her clothes were ever recovered, and it is believed that her killer may have taken them when he fled. Foreign DNA was also found at the scene. According to a local witness, Marcotte stopped at the Mountainside Market on Hubbardston Road in the afternoon for a drink, and was last seen alive walking while talking on her cell phone after 1 p.m. Another witness also reported they had seen a vehicle following Marcotte, which had turned around and followed her again on the road on which she was walking. According to authorities, Marcotte put up a huge struggle during the attack, which was believed to have occurred between 1 and 3 p.m. Several FBI profilers commented publicly on Vanessa's homicide, saying they believed Marcotte was most likely attacked at random by a stranger, and that the killer most likely lived in or frequented the area surrounding Princeton. Shortly after Vanessa's murder, investigators opened a 24-hour tip line asking for any information from the public and received over 1,300 tips. It was stated that Vanessa's attacker had been a male who likely had scratches, cuts, and bruises to his face and arms. It was not believed that Marcotte knew her killer. Rather, it was suspected to have been a completely random attack. In November 2016, they stated they were seeking additional information about a black or dark-colored SUV that had been seen parked on the road at the time and area where Vanessa was killed. On February 23, 2017, more than 6 months after the murder, the Worcester County District Attorney Joseph D. Early Jr. released further details on the investigation, stating that the DNA of Marcotte's killer had been sent to a lab and a profile had been created. It was not revealed how the DNA was obtained. Based on the DNA evidence and witness statements, the suspect in the slaying was a Hispanic male in his late 20s to 30s, with an athletic build, average height, and either short or shaved hair. It is also believed the suspect either owned or had access to a dark-colored SUV on the day of the murder and would have had visible injuries to his upper body in the days following the attack. On April 15, 2017, at a press release in Princeton, Early announced that Marcotte's alleged killer had been apprehended. Angelo Colin Ortiz, age 31, of Worcester, Massachusetts, was arrested on April 14th and was arraigned at Leominster District Court on April 18th and placed on a $10 million bail. He faced charges of aggravated assault and assault with intent to rape, as well as a murder charge in which he was indicted by a grand jury on June 23, 2017, at Worcester Superior Court. On July 26th, he pleaded not guilty and was ordered by a judge to be held without bail. According to authorities, a Massachusetts State Police trooper on patrol in Worcester had seen Colin Ortiz, who matched the description of the suspect, driving a vehicle identical to the one seen on the day of Marcotte's murder. The trooper wrote the license plate number on his hand and followed up by visiting Colin Ortiz's residence with another police officer the next day. Colin Ortiz voluntarily provided a DNA sample, which came back a match from DNA that had been found on Marcotte's hands. Colin Ortiz later claimed that a language barrier led him to provide a DNA sample to police investigators without him giving voluntary consent. On that basis, Colin Ortiz's attorneys filed a motion to suppress the DNA evidence. On January 11, 2022, Judge Janet Kenton Walker denied the defense's motion to suppress the DNA evidence. Colin Ortiz, a Puerto Rican native who had no criminal history, was married with 3 children and had lived in Worcester for less than a year. He worked for a third-party contractor of FedEx and made deliveries in and was familiar with the town of Princeton and surrounding areas. According to his Worcester neighbors, Colin Ortiz was described as perverted and often made vulgar sexual comments to people in the neighborhood. A former female Princeton postal worker also said that Colin Ortiz often made crude comments in Spanish about her and other women to his co-worker. Authorities revealed on the day of the murder, a local resident recalled seeing Colin Ortiz outside his parked black SUV with the hood up, talking on his cell phone, around 12:45 in the afternoon. Cell phone records and data proved that Colin Ortiz was indeed in the area at that time. Marcotte was believed to have left her home around 1:15. The resident drove by the vehicle again around 2:05 p.m., and the SUV was still parked there, but with the hood back down and no one around. Marcotte's cell phone data showed her phone either was shut off or disabled at 2:11 p.m., which was most likely near the exact time of her death. Colin Ortiz, who usually worked the morning shift, was not working the day of the murder. It is unknown why he was in the area that day. On October 26, 2022, Colin Ortiz changed his plea to guilty, in which agreed to plead guilty to second-degree murder, a charge that carries a sentence of 25 years to life in prison. He also pleaded guilty to a charge of unarmed robbery, which carries a sentence of 20 years in prison. Vanessa's memory lives on through the Vanessa T. Marcotte Foundation, a beacon of hope and empowerment. It's dedicated to helping women stay safe and confident, a fitting tribute to a young woman whose life was tragically cut short. The story of Vanessa Marcotte serves as a poignant reminder of the fragility of life and the capacity for both evil and good that resides within humanity. Her memory lives on, not just in the hearts of those who loved her, but in the collective conscience of a community and a nation that mourns for a life so tragically taken. If you found this episode compelling and believe in the importance of raising awareness about the violence against women and senseless murders like Vanessa's, please like, share, and subscribe for more gripping true crime stories. Every share brings us closer to finding answers. Thank you for joining me here at Whispers in the Wind. If you enjoy this channel, please like, share, and subscribe.